Hi.
Morning, Gene.
Hey, how are you?
Good. How are you?
All right. Hang on one second. I'm going to try to adjust my picture here a little bit.
Just bringing people in out of the waiting room. Just bear with me here.
Got it.
Morning, everyone.
Here. Mark, before we get to the more general stuff on the meeting, I just wanted to touch base with you with the new assessor. As you know, I have 2 items that are pending. He finally made a site visit, and I haven't heard anything, and I know there are not that many, holdovers from last year. Maybe you could ask him to just contact me and let me know where are we going? Does he want me to appear or whatever?
Will do. You just made a note, Richard.
Okay.
You're right. There probably aren't many holdovers from last year. However, he's in the process of a software conversion down in his office.
Oh, wow. I hear
Yeah,
you.
we're converting from the old Massachusetts CAMA system over to Patriot. So he's buried in that at the moment. So I will reach out to him this morning though and just see if he can connect with you and help you resolve any outstanding matters you have.
Okay, thanks, Mark.
Sure. So good morning, everyone. It's a little after 10 and everyone in the waiting room is in now. However, usually people will trickle in, so I will just let them in as we go. And for the sake of time this morning, Gene, I know you have another commitment or you're on another Zoom call at the moment. So
I'm good.
So good morning, welcome everyone. And I would like to just quickly introduce Gene Carr. I'm not sure if Gene, you're familiar with everyone on the call at this point, but
Almost everybody, which is good.
good. So Gene is my speaker of the month here at our virtual coffee, and he'll be introducing you to Berkshire Busk, a new outdoor performance program we have planned for this summer, starting in July. So Gene, why don't you go right ahead and take it from here.
Thanks. You know what? I'm going to share my screen. Let me know if this works. You should be seeing my screen at this point, I hope. Yeah?
Yep, you're good to go.
Oh, great. Okay, so I know certainly some of you, and for those that I don't, hello and good morning. I actually approached Mark last summer after both performing in and witnessing the music that was in front of the Triplex and also on Railroad Street, and basically came up with the idea through conversations and some Zoom calls in the early winter to really create a town-wide summer-long street music and arts festival, and that's what Berkshire Busk is. And the idea that has come to fruition is to create on Friday nights and Saturday nights a performing opportunity for buskers, people that go out on the street and perform. Somewhere between 8 and 10 performers simultaneously from about 6 o'clock at night to 8:30. All manner of performers, whether it's classical musicians or jazz or jugglers or, very, very wide range. And it's a project that has gotten a fairly wide level of support. The initial idea here is to try to do something that will fill the town with some energy, create community, create an opportunity for people to get out into community, and also to make sure that the shops and the restaurants have customers. I guess I'd like to switch to the page and show you that at this point we have over 25 sponsors. I'll just scroll down on this page to show you some of the local companies that have stepped up to actually fund and endorse the project. And I've been very grateful that the town has really stepped up and said, gee, we'd really like to do something like this. And so that was sort of the thing number one is there a way to fund this program and also fund the performers? And number two, I've put together a loose advisory board, and I'll go here and say I have a couple of people that are working with me to produce the event. And then I'll put on the screen a whole bunch of people. Some of you are already on our advisor board. Robin and Richard in particular, and Eric Brun has been very, very supportive. And then I've also put together a loose group of international advisors. You see here people that produce busking festivals all over the world who are giving us advice and suggestions and ideas about how to do this. So that's the quick overview. I want to say, and the reason that I was glad, aside from taking your questions, I have some job opportunities, and I thought that I would spread the word to you to the extent that you can number one, spread the word to performers. Any performer that wants to participate can come to the website and can fill out a form. We have already, as of today, over 50 applications that have come in, which is great because we just started promoting it. Number two, I've got some jobs available. We're looking for, not only are we looking for a social media, an editor for content that we're going to create over the summer. I'd like to create a volunteer operation and looking not only for volunteers, but also a volunteer coordinator. And as the event gets going, we're going to hire, for lack of a better word, runners. In the movie business, we call them PAs or production assistants, but basically they're people that will run around and do stuff. And so to the extent that you can help spread the word, the website has all the information. There's contact form on the website. So please send anybody that you think might be interested our way. And I think with that, I'm happy to answer any questions. Please.
All right, let me do a little commercial for Gene, because I know he doesn't have enough stuff to do. But I met Gene, about a year ago? Well, actually, we met a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
But Gene has made an unbelievable commitment to helping Great Barrington get back on its feet. Originally, the second time I met him was with a restaurant group that he helped us come up with a non-technology way to deal with menus on the outdoor dining. And he's really had boundless energy in terms of supporting the community and, of course, this effort. So, by the way, you need my address for the check on that commercial?
Richard, my assistants will be in touch with you.
Okay. Gene, so here's the real question. I know this is really formatted for a weekend busking.
Yeah.
It seems that during, the high season, let's say July 4th to Labor Day, it probably could work for more than a couple of days. Have you thought of a way to, especially since you have a good turnout of musicians,
Yeah,
to maybe make it work for more days than just the weekend?
Yeah, I guess, let me say, I'll give you two answers. One is I'm mindful not to bite off more than I can chew. And we are also committed to paying the performers. We're going to pay every performer $75 just for showing up. And even if it rains, we're going to pay them, because as a performer myself, if I'm rehearsing for 2 or 3 weeks and suddenly I get rained out, that's not fair. So there's an economic component. But on the other side, Richard, I'm very closely in touch with Jeff Caminetti, who has put up a tent right by the dining area. And Jeff and I are coordinating, and I'm going to help him try to find performers for other days of the week, even starting in June. So I think I'm giving you a mixed answer, but I let's walk before we run. But I think there's a little bit of a way that we can do some jogging as well this summer.
Yeah, great, because my vision, and I believe it's yours, and I think Mark's as well, that Great Barrington really gets known for music. and really has a clear identity. North County has had that identity, and we've got plenty of musicians
Oh,
here.
trust me. Trust me, we do. Robin?
I want to say, I have a suggestion, Jean, that doesn't involve any more effort on your part. As
Always
you're,
like those.
and I'll also step back a moment and say Gene's effort has been incredible. I was fortunate to work with him on some of the fundraising, and seeing him go and just not take no for an answer has been an inspiration. But Gene, I know as a merchant with a ground level store, I would gladly pay $75 from my store for a musician that I would just book with separately. And I would suggest that with those 50 applicants, if you suggest to them that they approach the businesses around where they're stationed on Friday and Saturday and say, hey, would you be interested in hiring me to pay on to perform on other days? I would absolutely. I'd love somebody out there every single day all summer, and I'll
Sure.
pay them.
I think we can, look, the good news here is that we're going to have, we already have, and we're going to have a pretty direct connection with all the performers. We have their text messages, we have their phone. We're actually going to have them sign a little busker agreement that basically says they'll do a bunch of things, including clean up their garbage, et cetera, et cetera. So in the context of all that, we can communicate to them and say, hey, if you meet a retailer, go introduce yourselves. Sure.
Okay, I think we should also do the reverse. I would say, let's get Betsy to publish a list of the buskers, or put on your website a list of them and their emails, so that people who want to be proactive and reach out, if Abby and Josh want to reach out, if I want to reach out and not wait for someone to come to us, we have access to who they are.
Yeah, so I want to be careful. I'm sure there's a way to do it properly. I want to be careful that we don't create massive confusion, because the thing that we're offering is a program on Friday and Saturday nights, and we're scheduling it, and we have money and all of that. And the truth is, the schedule will be published as soon as we slot people in. The website will show all the performers. You'll be able to find, they're very easily found. So I think that if you want to reach out to them, it'll all be there on the website as soon as we slot them in.
At the risk of making it messy, and having spoken with you many times, I know that you're very organized. I would risk the messy factor to have as many performers on the street as much as possible all summer long. And it can only serve to be a billboard, if you will, for the Friday and Saturday Berkshire Busk.
Cool. Excellent. Other questions? Well, look, Mark, thank you for the opportunity. And as I say, we have some money in our budget. Like, I raised some money for hiring people, and so if there are folks around that are looking for work, especially somebody with a truck, that would be really helpful. So I appreciate it. I'm available on the website, and my email address, there's no chat thing here, but it's just my first name, GENE @berkshirebusk.com.
Jean, before you go, I spoke to Frank at Car Hardware this morning, and he wants to talk to you to set up the helium. So he said, stop in.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Great. Thanks for joining us this morning, Gene.
Thanks everybody.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.
So I just want to apologize. Apparently there was an issue with the link for this morning on our website, so we may have missed a few folks, but thank you all for joining. A few housekeeping items here. I just wanted to catch up on some things that we discussed at the last meeting, and then I'll open this up for questions, comments, and just remember, this is a casual coffee chat here, so just chime in at any point, cut me off if you want to. I just wanted to let everyone know that our rapid recovery grant that we talked about last month, Chris Rembold was in to discuss that. He wanted me to just mention to the group that on Thursday, May 20th at 5 p.m., there will be a rapid recovery grant update through a Zoom meeting, and you'll be hearing from him. He'll send along the link and a reminder as we get a little closer. So I just wanted to mention that so you could save it in your calendars. Our crosswalks will be repainted any day now. We're just waiting for the weather to cooperate. Streets will be swept, and you'll see our town crews out and about repainting the rainbow crosswalks, and then also adding some new ones this year. So that'll be exciting. And the cultural district banners, that was something that came up at our last meeting also. You should be seeing them very soon. But Robin, do you know what the status is on that project?
Yep, as you may have seen in the Edge, Neil did a press release with the CDCSB because he's still hoping for a few more artists before he closes it off. He discovered that Larkin has a very short turnaround. He's hoping that they'll go up, I think, the first week in June, but I'm sure he'll be coordinating that with whether it's Sean or Chris or you, and they're on track.
Great. As far as outdoor dining goes, since this ties into our earlier presentation by Jean, my hope is that by Memorial Day weekend, we'll have the planters here. We're working with Berkshire Fence. They're building all of the planters for us. So it's nice to work with a local company and support a local company. Our high school, Monument Mountain, the greenhouse program, will be doing all the plantings for us in those planters and maintaining them throughout the year. So you'll see students in and around the downtown area during the week, and we'll do everything we can do to just promote this program, maybe through a plaque on all of the planters or something to let everyone know that this is a partnership with the school and that these planters are being designed and maintained by students at Monument. So I hope it's a really good way for them to showcase their skills and everything they've learned participating in that program over the years as well. So again, our goal is Memorial Day weekend to start outdoor dining. And then about a month later, you'll start to see the Berkshire Bus performers on the streets. And the last thing I want to say about outdoor dining is that you can expect to see Kamali Electric, one of the contractors we hired to help us install all the festive lighting up and down Railroad Street. You should see them any day now. They're going to be here putting up the lighting for us and setting them on timers so that the lights will automatically go on and go off, I think at 7 o'clock and off at 11 or something like that, so that we don't impact the folks that live on the second and third stories downtown. And then they'll be over here at Town Hall also putting a timer on the lights in our gazebo, because we've noticed that a number of people are getting takeout in town, maybe folks that aren't quite comfortable with eating indoors yet, but want to support local businesses and eat out. So we want to be able to encourage people to use the pavilion out here to eat beyond sundown. So we'll have a timer set up in there so that it will be on from, again, 7 to 11 p.m. People can use that to dine outdoors. We have some new picnic benches going in our park out here, on a beautiful day, or even a half decent day at this point. You look out the window and you can see that all of our picnic tables are being used. So we want to encourage that. And hopefully this will help keep our restaurants and their takeout business active, and it brings people to town to help our retailers as well. So that said, I'll open it up for conversation. Does anyone have a question or a comment for the group or anything they want to discuss?
I want to ask Richard. Richard, what time are your lights on?
I don't know. I have to ask Sean.
But it's open now, so people there can eat there too, right?
What's outdoor dining?
Yeah.
Well, I'm meeting with the restaurants next Wednesday. It appears that a number of restaurants are closed at least Monday, and I haven't figured out when they're staffing. I know based on looking at my cameras, last weekend was quite, I think it was last weekend, and even the weekend before was quite active. So I guess I really can't give you a definitive answer on how the rhythm of the outdoor dining at this point is going. But it appears that people are definitely anxious to use it. I suspect it won't be formal probably until close to Memorial Day.
And Richard, you have some news to share this morning, right? Did I see that the triplex is reopening?
Oh, at long last. Yes, we're opening May 21st. I guess you would call it a soft opening. We'll be open Friday through Sunday. Then we'll close for a couple of days and then be open in full force for the, hopefully into the future, starting Memorial Day weekend. And that was, frankly, people have been asking me when are we going to open, and my answer has generally been July 4th. And there are two things driving the decision to open. Probably the most important is Hollywood and when they're going to release new movies. They're starting Memorial Day, and in fact, by the middle of summer, there's going to be a glut of truly A movies, and we're seeing Hollywood change their release dates to start accommodating not having too many at the same time. So that's the long answer.
Great. Yes.
I do have a question, or just wondering, how is anything moving forward on the parking lot issue and Dale Cullerton and any of that, or is that still?
Oh,
quiet?
yeah. I'm glad you mentioned that, actually. The Finance Committee and the Select Board reviewed that concept during budget season this year, and I'm excited to announce that we'll be pitching a proposed new parking lot at town meeting on June 7th. So the parcel, as many of you know, is the parcel just beyond the railroad tracks here behind our Castle Street parking lot, the other side of the underpass. So our hope is that it will be a 50 to 60 spot parking lot open to the public for long-term parking, meaning someone could park there for 8 hours plus if they want to, if there's someone who works in town, doesn't want to have to move their vehicle every hour, 2 hours, or 4 hours without risking getting a ticket. It would also be, I think, a good option for folks that want to come to town, maybe catch a show, eat out, do some shopping, again, without having to move their car every 1 hour, 2 hour, 4 hour increments without getting a ticket. So, I see it as a really good opportunity to get some of the cars that are normally parked in front of storefronts off of Main Street and off to the side, so that those parking spots are open for customers who are coming and going throughout the day. So any support you can give us, to be totally straight with you, we do not expect to sell this at town meeting. The goal here was to bring it to town meeting and let the voters of Great Barrington decide. We've, as you know, been talking about parking for decades. I have newspaper articles going back to the 1930s talking about parking in downtown Great Barrington and what an issue it is. So finally, voters in downtown or in Great Barrington and Houstonic will be able to weigh in on this. And I'm super excited to have the conversation. I have no idea how it will go, of course, but I'm really excited to at least have this conversation. And any support, anyone you know that lives in Great Barrington, Houstonic, that can attend the town meeting on June 7th and weigh in, we would certainly appreciate it.
Mark, as a follow-up to that, it sounds like you're not going to do a formal presentation. It's just going to be an FYI. This is on the, but this is part of the budget. Would you object if some of us got together and created a more formal presentation? Or do you think it would be counterproductive the way you see it?
I think anything you can do to help promote the idea would be great. I'm sorry, I should have been more clear. When I say we're not going to sell it at town meeting, I don't mean that we're going to just say, do you want a parking lot or not? What we're going to do is say, this is what we envision, a 50 to 60 spot parking lot. It will come at a cost, $60,000 a year in debt service, but factual information. We do anticipate charging for parking in this location because we need to have some revenue to offset the expense. And, we'll focus on our goals, why we're proposing this, economic development, because this is something we've been struggling with. And it depends on who you talk to. We've all had conversations with people that say, I don't have a problem with parking. I pull right in and park right in front of the store I want to go to. I don't see what the issue is. And then there's people who are frustrated that they drive around for 20 minutes before they can find a parking spot. So, it depends what is happening in town at the time you try to park in town. Is there a show happening at the Mahawi? Is the triplex full, or the restaurant? Is it a Friday night? Is it a holiday weekend? We all know our community well enough to know that there are times when you can park right in front of the store you are going to, and there are times when you have to drive around. So more than anything, I'm really excited about having this community conversation and getting a sense for what people think. Do we have a parking problem or not? And if we do, how are we going to resolve that? I don't see any more 2-acre lots in Great Barrington within close proximity to our downtown popping up anytime soon. So,
Mark,
Can
are
I add
you-
to that?
yeah. Oh, yeah. Go ahead, Ed.
I just to more directly, Richard, yes, I think if you guys got together and promoted this in a big way and got the Mahawi in on it, say, because it's a very strong voice saying we need parking is the downtown merchants. So I think if you start pushing it as economic development, I think that's a voice that, at least on social media, is going to be absent if it isn't from you.
Mark,
Well,
I just want to get back to something you said. You're going to charge for this lot. Are you going to start charging for all of the untimed lots?
All of the untimed lots, like
Taconic lot.
Taconic lot, that is a
Yeah.
timed lot.
No, she asked if you were going to be charging. I'm
No.
assuming. No?
Let me clarify. The lot that you're building, you said is going to be an untimed lot and you're going to charge for it. Are you going to start charging for the other untimed areas in town?
We haven't had that conversation, Robin, and I imagine that if this goes through on June 7th, that we'll have to have that conversation. But the thought is that, I think anyway, is that, anything we charge for parking in that spot or in that parking lot will help us offset the cost. And that's probably a better way for us to sell it, so that it's not just an additional cost to taxpayers, that the users are actually contributing. What I mean by 8 hours plus is that, you could park there for an hour if you'd like to and pay for it, but you also have the option to park there for 8 hours plus if you're working in an office on a second or third floor, or working in a retail store, or just, again, want to spend the day in downtown Great Barrington. So, all of the other parking lots in town, you'd have to move your car every hour, 2 hour, or 4 hours. So the benefit to this, the reason to pay $1.50 to park your car there, whatever it happens to be, is to not have that hassle.
I think what also might happen is a reexamination of the other time limits. So if this is available, there is I think a 24-hour lot. Maybe that isn't 24 hours anymore. But like Mark says, we haven't looked at any of that yet.
Right.
That's my
Well,
question.
one of the things to consider, because I still own the Beacon when they put in time parking on the street. That'll be a poster child for a bad idea. So before one even entertains that, we ought to do some homework on how it worked in Pittsfield. And did it create a better environment for people coming downtown in Pittsfield?
I don't think anyone is suggesting that we charge for parking downtown, if that's what you mean. I think that's how we differ from the
Well, I
city.
think that's where Robin was going with her question, that should not even be on the table. In other words, keep doing whatever you're doing relative to hour, 2 hour, however that pans out. I don't have any problems with that. But paying requiring payment for parking downtown that will be a guarantee to drive people to the shopping centers.
No,
And
no one's
typically-
suggesting that at this point.
No, I understand that, but that's always somehow gets in the offing when pay for parking comes to the fore. You know, I've heard the discussion before, we should have meters, all of this. And we don't need to go into a whole lot of detail on it, but I, for one, think. So additionally, Mark, would you speak to Michael to make sure I can speak at town meeting, please?
Michael Wise.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, because the moderator has to approve that.
Yeah,
Best I remember.
I will send an email and connect the two of you. He's going to ask for you to contact him directly so that he can give you a response in writing to show at registration at town meeting. So
Great, okay. All right, I'm glad that's moving forward. I already know the answer to this question. Fairgrounds going nowhere?
going nowhere. Still
Yeah.
trying to have a meeting with the fairgrounds board and the owners, but we've been unsuccessful at this point.
Even the board?
Even the
Yeah.
board.
Wow.
I've been in direct communication with at least one board member. I've heard from another, but nothing. We'll keep
The only
trying.
board member that I know is Deborah Levinson. She used to be a tenant many, many years ago. Is she one of the people you've been able to actually speak to?
Deborah's the board member I was communicating with regularly. And then I heard from one other board member, but no, unfortunately, we're not making any progress.
All right, so here's my take on it, and it took me a while to figure it out. It was like literally a couple of weeks ago. You know, Janet expressed a dislike for the town. And whenever I hear that, I'm thinking it's usually town government. No, this is really simple to understand where she's coming from. When the town voted not to have horse racing, that is the issue. And that's what she, I believe, is really angry about. I don't think it has anything to do with town government, selectmen, or anything like that. It's the town voting not to allow horse racing.
So you know more than I do at this point, Richard.
Well, listen, that's a gut feeling, but I'm trying to figure out where this attitude comes from, and nothing else makes sense. And all of a sudden, I remembered about the town voting not to have horse racing. And there you have it, because they had a contract to do that. So that's my 2 cents on where she's coming from. And it's only helpful to keep that in mind if there's ever negotiation, because a lot of times you're dealing with somebody, you think it's A when it's really B.
Yeah, and that's been really the reason we would like to meet with them, is to just get this out on the table and find out, a lot of this history, not the horse racing, of course, but most of the history between the town and the fairgrounds predated my time, may or may not have been something that they discussed with the select board or the planning board or the conservation commission. It's just unclear to me at this point what the problem is and why we can't just communicate about it and try to resolve it and move past it, because I think our vision for what the fairgrounds could be and what it could look like and how it could benefit the South County community is not that unlike the vision that the fairgrounds board has. So I hope that we can chat soon. And if any of you know board members or the owners and could connect me or encourage them to reach back out to me, we're here and willing to talk.
I'll try to get a hold of Deborah. I don't know if I mentioned this to you, but a couple of years ago, when with my Rotary hat on, Bike and Fly, the airport decided to charge us way too much money where they were charging nothing to do the bike and fly. So that pretty much killed the event. I approached Janet to maybe doing it at the fairgrounds. And that was the first time I ever had any real interaction with her. And she expressed, I said, listen, I'll see what I can do to help make things work for you. Now, this is pre-buying the fairgrounds. I'm real angry with the town. And that's what I got out of her. And it sounded like real angry with the town. So let's keep
Can I
trying.
ask, Tim, to ask a question. Tim, have you, at the last Entrepreneurs Forum, you raised the point of internet on the streets, and I think we left it, you were going to raise that with Mark. Take yourself off mute.
So I'm glad you brought that up. I was going to mention it, time permitting. I've been interacting with Adam Chait from Fiber Connect, who literally just 2 days ago sent me a kind of a write-up of the proposal he has in mind. And there's, he's prepared to go ahead. I think we talked about that last time. And he would do a lot of it, but what he needs serious help with is the cost of the electronics. And there is, which I can share with the appropriate people, there's I guess what they call a dispersion map, a map of how many access points there are, where they are, and what areas they cover. And what we're talking about as, let's call it phase one, is roughly from St. James Place up to Church Street and Railroad Street and, up Castle, that would cover the Mahawi, and then a little bit down Bridge Street. The access points are roughly $2,000 each when you add all the components up. So what he would need is something like $28,000 to $30,000 for the equipment, and then the simple way to put it is he'll do the rest. And it will take him, he said, about 30 days to install it once the go button is pushed. And there is as I say, there's a document I will share and a dispersion map. So, he's a very busy guy these days. I don't know if you read, at long last, the MBI, the state's broadband bureaucracy, has approved giving him money to finish building out Monterey and Egremont. So he's a busy guy, but he likes this project and wants to help. So I guess we could discuss it further offline. One of the important things to understand or to be clear on is what is the purpose of this thing? And the way I would describe it is this is an amenity for people on the street, whether they're residents here or summer visitors or out of towners, to check their email, to see, what the store hours are and what have you. It would be set up, without getting into the details, in a way that discouraged the retail stores and second and third story apartments or businesses in the area from poaching the service so they don't have their own internet. And there's a couple of ways that's done. One is a time limit. And there's various ways that it can be set up to be done. But that's sort of the broad strokes. And Richard, at one point, I think in the call last time, you said you thought it might be possible that some of the landlords would be willing to pitch in.
All right, well, Tim, I had a conversation with him about it, I think at this point, 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
And asked him to send me a written proposal. The conversations become circular. Well, what do you want to do? I said, Adam, you know what has to be done. You know where the nodes need to be put in. Present a written proposal with absolute specifics, and we will take it from here. So maybe you can get him to actually do that.
What I was saying a moment ago, Richard, is just 2 days ago, he shared with me a draft proposal.
An actual proposal, where it goes and how much it's going to cost. Because if we can get that, then we can start moving on it in different ways, including approaching the landlords to support this. I certainly would pay my share. I got a feeling Kim Kimball would pay his share, and you could keep going down the list. And, you might end up with a half a dozen landlords that may be more problematic, but you got to have something in writing that is actionable.
Yeah, I understand.
So if you can do that, Tim,
Yep.
and get him to actually, say, okay, there's no longer a draft. This is what we need to get to first base.
Yep.
Then a lot of us will be happy to pitch in to try to get it over the goal line.
Good. Mark, do you think, is the town in a position, in it with, is there any available short turnaround funds that could get this thing going as well if the landlords are not willing to pick up the tab for all of the cost?
So
Why don't you rephrase that, Tim, just slightly? If we can go to landlords and say that the town will put in X number of dollars and we'll put in Y number of dollars, that would be a great partnership. And I think that's very saleable.
Okay.
And we have town-owned buildings in this district. We have our town hall, our library. So we will be a player in this. And I will say, the answer is no, we don't have any money appropriated and set aside for this at the moment. But I think this is the perfect candidate. This project is the perfect candidate for the American Rescue Plan Act funds that the town should be receiving shortly from the federal government. We're anticipating roughly $2 million. And the US Treasury hasn't given us, they haven't released any guidelines to municipalities, cities and towns at this point. So we don't know how this money will come to us. We don't know whether we need to close it to free cash and appropriate it at a town meeting, or whether we'll receive it in the form of a grant that will give us instant access to spend it. But one thing I do know at this point is that economic development is one of the permitted uses of this funding. And I see this as an economic development issue in a project. So I think we could certainly carve out some money from that funding to help pay for this as well.
It just would be nice if this could get done before the summer's over.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. Joe had mentioned at the last meeting, smart benches, which I don't know if they could also serve as access points or whether they need to be up on rooftops, but at least charging stations and things like that. Another great candidate for this funding.
Yep.
And something that I'll bring back to this group once we do get some guidance from the US Treasury. And I would imagine that once we do, the Massachusetts Department of Revenue will also put out some guidance to cities and towns. So I should have more information within a month, because we're anticipating the funding hitting the town, cities and towns this month. So by this time, by the first Wednesday in June, I'll have much more information to share.
Great, okay.
Anyone else with a question or a comment this morning? No? All right, well, thank you all again for joining, and I apologize if you had a difficult time getting in. I think we probably lost a few participants. We had the incorrect link up on our website this morning for joining this morning, but we'll make sure we correct it for next month. So anyway.
Once again, thanks for doing this, Mark.
Thanks a
Thank
lot.
you. Thanks to all. Thank you to everyone for joining. Have a good one.
You too.